go ahead and probably reaffirm what you guys have already been able to spot. We bounced right off of that previous floor, reclaimed, and now in the most recent price action, because again, this box doesn't hold uh, any more weight. It is still, we're still using the same parameters, but ultimately, this is a weird close. In fact, this is a weird fucking setup. And I have to say on the cues, it's kind of odd that it looks the way that it does. So here's the deal. We don't have, and I can probably see what a lot of you guys are anticipating
An
here,
upward
which
channel
is
on that out whenever on the
right,
keys.
right. So there's a box directly up above us. We have a 518.85 and then a gap fill, which definitely, as of right now, opens up that potential for us to potentially go to the upside overnight. Data wise, I don't think we have anything crazy tomorrow. Yeah, nothing crazy happening on Wednesday and Thursday. We do have some momentum driving, but at the end of the day, right? Yesterday we did not have a reclaim of the floor above us, and that it resulted in a fucking gap down. So clarity wise, I feel a little bit indecisive, right? And that there is certain areas in the market where that's going to be real, and this is definitely one of them. So this could go one of two ways, and I'm sure you guys can probably see this too. Might be what why you're feeling indecisive, and might be why it could be best to speculate or to sit out. Here's my thoughts. We are bouncing right on what I'm interpreting as the 50% mark in between here and here. That's empty space, and we have reclaimed the floor, right? When we go to the 30-minute, floor has been reclaimed. So overnight, if we punch back, it's almost guaranteed that we would be at least at 522, right? With 525 in mind. And that could be a great play. But at the same time, you haven't done that. You have not triggered that. So if that ends up being a rejection, you could very easily come back down to 514. I want to remind everybody, however, we are in range and we could continue to stay in range. We could hit 514 on the bottom, bounce, and have a candle situated tomorrow right here. So, with that being said, there's not really a signal here, right? There's a setup. The setup could fire overnight and send us potentially higher or potentially lower. And that is not a good place to swing when you can't derive or pull a definitive direction out of the chart, right? It's interesting. I mean, definitely starting to see where buyers could have the advantage. But ultimately we don't have a conclusion here. Hopefully by the end of the day that may change. On SPY, we have a similar setup, right? And you had a hold, you held right where you're supposed to, which is 590.50, and you bounce. That's also the imbalance in that empty space from here to here, which that would make your next target on the hourly to the downside would be right there, and that's 588. You have a box directly up above you. Again, this is all hourly time frame analysis, and a potential punchback to go fill its gap 595 and inevitably 600. So that honestly, with the channel that it's currently trading in and the gap up above, could result in that next shot up, right? I think that one is probably a bit more definitive because you're not in, you're kind of in a range, but you are approaching that floor. So this one, a little bit different, $600 strikes. I'll take a look at those at the end of the day. But this is again where you step out to the 24-hour and you look at the first target ahead, and that is 597 or 598, and it's just not that much. The empty space on SPY doesn't really open up until you get over that median where you have a clear target of 607. So if you feel indecisive, that's okay. If you feel like you have to place a trade, that's called a lack of self-control. And if you don't see something, we can always try again tomorrow, right? That consolidation that I was talking about today, obviously, are you serious? Every single time I go live, I don't have any music playing. Wow. Every time. Yeah, I don't know what that's about. Anyway, let's shrink this down a little bit. Someone's reporting live. It's all good. All right. Last one, IWM, and probably my favorite. Not because it has a ton of empty space, but just simply because it is still in fucking range, right? This one I wouldn't mind a potential speculative setup, maybe a straddle. Again, there it's in a box, so I don't have a signal from either one. Your target above is 212. Your second target would be 214.65 with some run over into 215. So that's what I see directly up above us. And then to the downside, it's clear, right? It's not hard. This one actually is probably where I'll, SPY looks okay, but that right there, you'll split that in half and you look at a 202.85 target down and a 214.50 target up. And I think that would probably make for a pretty equal targeting. It would only be the contracts. No self-control these last 2 days. Listen, you're not alone. And there's a lot of people in here who are taking trades that don't have for sure setups. Do not trigger. There's some trades that looked pretty good. And listen, I take trades sometimes and they don't work out, right? Or and sometimes I can look at the chart and be like, okay, well, I could have seen this, but sometimes it just is not going to work out, and it's okay to just chalk it up to the game. But this is the tension that I constantly am speaking about. And this tension, if you're trading in it, it's going to hurt. It's going to suck. And it has. And I have, thankfully, yesterday I was busy, but as I was looking at the market, I was like, well, fuck, I wouldn't have hardly been there anyway. The trade on the Qs yesterday, good setup. Lower time frame setup. But yeah, for this, yeah, not crazy. But there has been some individual equities that have ran, and maybe that's where we focus on what. So you think? Oh, thank you, TP. Right. This is tension, and this is not even stopped out sideways. Yeah, theta burn. Thank you, B Santiago. All right. If you have anything you want me to take a look at, let's go ahead and do that now. If it looks like shit, I'm going to let you know. If you decide to take it, again, you don't have to take my my word for it. Some things are just not my setup. But all right, let's see. We've got, and I'm going to move quickly here. So SMCI. There we go. This one might have more attention. You have a 4-hour, or excuse me, a 1-hour box, and that is just downright perfect. You have a floor directly underneath you and a wick coming off of 41.50. Take it short there. That would be my short level. I would take it to 39.10 and obviously try to be down around 38. So Microsoft, or wait, whoops, skip that one. Target earnings in the morning. All right, I'm going to give you price targets for this one. No promises. If you decide to take it, that's on you. I already gave my analysis on this one this morning. You are currently being held down at least pre-earnings underneath 98, and that's where you've been held today. I find that pretty curious after retesting the empty space above you, so I'm calling for a potential target down around 92 if you fall. If that occurs, I imagine the trading afterwards could be a nightmare for at least a couple of weeks into June, where you could end up taking off into summer. But if by some chance you're able to break that floor, my next target would be 105. 105 breaks, and you have a 112 target beyond that. So Dollar
It has
Tree.
earnings, I
Yeah, yeah.
believe. Oh, yeah.
That's why I'm referencing those targets pretty far out. So
Okay.
yeah, yeah. Dollar Tree looks like it's set to go ahead and I mean that's a Dollar Tree ass close right there, but you have a 92.24 target directly up above you. I don't know what the fuck I was going through my mind when I drew that box, but we'll talk about that later. And I would look at the 96.71 target. This is not a box. Period. It's not a box. It's a bounce off a floor, a retest of the box above, and then you just fall. There's no second, third bounces, nothing. The box above you, that's different. But I still would use the 50% mark of that. Microsoft. So as good as a Microsoft candle close could be, again, not my favorite stock in the world, but you did touch your floor today. So your next trigger and target above is 464.14. And I'm pretty sure that's all-time highs. So that's on you. I would imagine 485 would be a pretty straightforward target, and then 500. But I would not. Again, I don't do all-time highs. Kava down. Listen, it's definitely looking that way. I do think that focusing on this, and let's go to the 4-hour really quick. I really want to see how 87.43 and 85.75 respond. That's going to actually have a huge impact on what I see coming for Kava. I believe there's got to be a channel possibly somewhere. I might just not have been able to catch it yet. But, at the worst, if it does break that 85, I would be targeting the 78.50 level. HD. Okay, so you have a potential punch down. You refuse the floor up above you. The punch down is sitting here. So yeah, if you can punch down, you'll likely go hit this floor. If you bounce and you bounce fast enough, you could get back up above cost basis. But again, you rejected that huge point there. So could be a channel here. Looks like there's possibly a channel there as well. So I think 370.85 will be where you'll, I mean, that's obvious. You'll go and retest underneath. From there, I don't really have any greater insight. The weekly, again, the weekly is still green. So previous resistance was over here. You tapped the same thing and refused the floor in the same. So yeah, maybe a gap fill and then a run back up. But as for right now, I see downwards pressure trying to push it towards that gap. Did I look at this one already? Dollar Tree? I just sworn I did. Yeah, I did. Airbnb. Gross. So in a weekly madhouse, the clear level to get higher was the previous area that you needed to break, which is 139.87, or you could call it 140. Yeah, 140 on the dot. So what's underneath you? You have the gap up above your wall, so that can and will serve as a bounce level, and that's where I would be looking next. 130 would need to break, and then you have a gap fill target of 127.25. Usually you bounce on the gap ups, but LMT 24 weekly. Let's see. You got the consolidation for sure. You've got the consolidation on consolidation. So you've got a weekly area contained here. You've got a 24-hour contained here. And it looks like you're going to go and it looks like you're trying to head up to go and hit that wall. It has shit volume right now. But it is over 480, 450, and your first target would likely be, yeah, so you'd need a 493 or 494, 499, or that's a $500 break. So $500, and that's where I would go ahead and start looking Here. If that was trend, you broke it. Yeah, I don't want to force it, so I'm not going to. I would be looking there, and then your target above would be 520. Disney down. What the hell? So what happened? You popped up, you wicked out, you punched down, you retest, you break down, you got 3 off the floor, you're building a box around cost basis, or I guess you could maybe argue that's on top. You have 3 rejections here. Does it look good? The answer is fucking no. At least up. It looks like it's exhausted. But at the same time, if I was a seller and that's all I have to offer, I'd be pretty fucking disappointed. To me, this seems like something I'd have to take almost intraday. I don't know if you would see two. It doesn't even. It does gap down, or even a gap down underneath at 111.19. I mean, you're still in the box, so you could bounce off the floor again. Um, Low volume on that rejection. That's my issue with it. So, uh, ultimately, these two boxes 111.16 and 110.25. That'll get you down to 105.50. Um, NW. Well, if it's expensive, you can count me out. But so I look at this and I don't see a great setup. Just being honest, nothing pops out to me immediately. So that's not going to apply to me for sure. Um, don't like that. Trend's ugly. You're on the up and up. Let's look at the weekly. The weekly has you a weird gap. So I would actually say a 186.85 target down, and then to the upside, a 198 target up. And I'm having to use the weekly because not much else really makes sense. You got the consolidation you need. Honestly, John, this just does not make a whole fucking lot of sense to me at all. I think the 204 target it makes the most sense looking at where we're at now. The gap down, and then on the 4 hour, I could see this thing even dropping to 174.50. So that's earnings. UPS down. Oh yeah, you did. Look at that. Taking your fucking sweet time though. So you're moving through structure. You have the top right here at 97.18. I don't know if I would go short any further until you get 96.55. You're so close. This is still in an uptrend. 24-hour. Yeah, so you're I would wait to see how you respond to cost basis because you're essentially trying to take a punch down to 90. Reddit. Oh wait, AMD. APP failed punchback. We'll take a look at it. A low volume rejection. So whenever you could say AMD is a low volume rejection. Like that was pretty high volume, but the push down, right? It literally, and this, everybody thinks in different terms. For me, there's a metaphorical thing here, or for me, metaphorically interpret this. When you push down, if your job is like I hire you and your job is to push this price down, you suck. You're doing a terrible job at pushing that back up. So or pushing that down where it needs to go. Excuse this trash right here. Yeah, listen, there are a couple of things that I see, like this right here shows that sellers are trying to maintain control. But they aren't really do follow through wise. They're just not doing a great job. So that needs to happen tomorrow, hopefully, with that opening or price. And that's the 50% mark, is it not? From the floor to here, that's 50%. That's 112. So if that breaks down, this doesn't. I see the gap fill, and I know a lot of you guys are looking at gap fills underneath us, but there are a lot of those setups have fucking bounces, or floors in between them and the rest of the legs down. So, but yeah, I see 110.70 if you can break that down, and then you technically have over 115.45 and you could try to go right back up. Reddit down 24. Yeah, that looks pretty fucking wild. I mean, the amount of rejections, the weekly did leave a gap behind at 113. I think that's worth taking into consideration. You are at the floor, right? So I totally understand why you would think to take this. Two major rejections, two off this mark, but then two here. And then when you look underneath you, you have a little bit of empty space, and yeah, you have a gap fill down there at 94. So if you do take that, I think this one again, go to the hourly. What's above you? You've got empty space, right? You are bouncing. Your box is here, and that would result in a retest before that leg down. So that has to be taken into consideration, or even looking to the left of you, waiting for 104.21 to break, or even going down lower if you have to. And there's cost basis 104.25. So, all right. Snow, good target. I mean, I definitely, that one's, cleaner. Does that have earnings or something? 24. I don't think so. So you're refusing to go up. I mean, not you're also not going down, which is, three off the bottom, three off the top. This is fucking crazy. Yeah, it's I would say 189.50, 188 or 189, 189.50 are the two targets directly up above you. You are in a box, so I cannot and will not give you I could not give you a foreshore signal. I don't know. There are certain waves that can tip me off, or candle closes. This could very easily gap up above 184.42 and go and hit that target, or perhaps overnight. Three off the bottom is convincing enough, and you just sitting right here is, and bouncing off cost basis before the end of day, that could definitely add to that breakup. So, um, did we just fucking give me a second? Um, Grabbing a straddle on IWM right now. 213s are 4 cents. 212s, 206, and 205. And all of those are with it outside of the range. You could go as far as 204.
You grabbing them for tomorrow?
Yeah. Yep. So I got there's fucking dirt cheap 213 calls and 204 puts.
Right? They were like 2 cents.
Yeah, I didn't see why I shouldn't do that. I mean, if that doesn't work, I mean, I could do that 5 days in a row, and if it did fucking break, I'd still walk away with a big bag. So
Yeah, dude. Literally, it costs nothing.
yeah, that's that low risk, high reward. I think looking at it right now, this is really triggering me. $204 right there, 204.50. Hopefully, well, overnight price action should have us somewhere around here. Hold on, where's the open? That's Wednesday. The open will be here. So yeah, 204.50 seems like it's clocked in. You still have, yeah, you still have a couple of minutes to take, or about 13 minutes. Who's dinging? Someone order filling right now? Someone's buying the shit out of those IWM calls. But thank you, Brandy. Yeah. So if you want to take you, again, does everybody understand why I'm doing this? I think that this, be looking at all three, right, setups. Look at IWM, look at the Qs, look at SPY, right? And we'll look at it on the hourly on both, right? You have this, which is just kind of, edging you up, pause, like that, right? So maybe a pop up, but this is that compression that we need in order to make a move. And if you go look historically, look, even if it ripped up, you could catch it both ways. In fact, I love when this actually happens, when you build these, because the initial move up or out is usually the wrong one. It's the wrong direction. So if we ended up popping up tomorrow, my target would be hit. I would be up. And then I could re-enter that same setup and look back down. And at that point, I would disregard the channel and be looking all the way to 202. IWM is the one. I'm latching onto that one. I like that. Yeah, I do like that. And that's one that you can compound. You could grab 10 contracts for fucking butt nothing. Cool. All right.
You didn't go too crazy, right? Because you're speculating. Or do you think it's really it has the chance to move?
I think it has the chance to move. That's what I'm doing. This is not for you guys to follow. But as far as, or it's not financial advice. But as far as
just curious how you ratio it, like 1 to 2, 1 to 3.
So in this regard, I kind of went both sides equally. And I put about $500 in. So, and that's speculative for me, one way or another. And then I think if we don't open up outside of this range tomorrow, if we can, I think this tension breaks. You've got 3 off the top, you've got 3 off the bottom. This thing's going to go somewhere, I think tomorrow. But if you have a certain bias, I'm still actually watching right now to see what, I'm leaning on the Qs and SPY to kind of guide me at the moment. It seems like they're waning a little bit. Yeah, I'm risking it for the fucking biscuit. Shit, I might buy 500 more. Let me go look at, actually, before I go too far, let me see what IWM 1 day further. Those shouldn't be too bad. 2 days out, May 22nd. Okay, so my target on IWM. Let's be specific here. So we would technically be targeting to the T, right? We're looking over here. We're looking to grab here. And we have runners in there. So those are your targets. You've got 211 and 212.50. So I mean, fuck, 212s are 28 cents. Those ones are a little bit more expensive. I think I might want to take those on the break. But I will say this: if this thing breaks out and goes up and fills its empty space, and then starts pulling itself back under, starts losing floors, this, I mean, the beautiful thing here is that this is the trigger for all that, at least 50% of it, but that's what I see on that. All right, anyway, ARM, what did I see on this? 24. Well, no shit. Did you really do that? Yeah, you did. When did I draw this? I don't remember.
You did on Thursday or Friday because you took the shorts on it, and then I think you said that needs to happen to come back down.
Right, yeah,
Like
retest.
a retest.
Retest,
Yeah,
bounce.
Yep.
Yep.
You still have
So-
Riot Pod? Did you get out?
I do still have. I told you guys I was holding on to Riot until
Yeah, I still got mine too. I was just wondering if you still had yours.
I ain't even scared.
Yeah, it's
We get a major rip up and crypto follows. I know it's gonna eat. This one again, you know, when we're inside of a
Bitcoin
box.
just at like 107. So Riot may move.
Yeah. It's got a good setup. So on ARM, I think you just have a little bit more consolidation. Over 132.90, you should be able to go up and reach and tap that again. You have a trigger directly up above you and a target of 140. Trigger / target. And that's cost basis at 140. So that's up and outside of that. And then to the downside, you know, I think you've already retested 128 enough that you would likely come and tap 125.40. VFC. I mean, you filled your empty space. You know, that's what I want. So I guess if you're, and this is where patience, you know, for sure, would be the most important factor. Yeah, so that's not even the real floor. That's just step one to get to the floor, and that's $16. And then if you want the rest of that empty space, you need 16.55. And that's earnings. So a hedge could be 13.33 or 12. No, I'm going to say 12.84. Question for earnings. What was I drawing here? I don't know what I was doing. Weird alien symbols. So I mean, for earnings, I think the simple target is 218, directly up above, and then to the downside, you've got that, and so you'd have 181 and 175. Toast. Is this all-time highs? No, keep making that mistake. Okay, so how you respond, right? And in this case, you punched back, made a new high, and now you're kind of sitting, right? You got the price to rise, right, on this particular stock, and now seems like that buying or that enthusiasm is starting to stop, or at least flatline temporarily. So I see a couple of things that might need to happen in order for you to get the support you need to go back up. You're building a box that makes life relatively easy. You've got cost bases at 44.88, and you've got a level under you at 43 and basically 42.75. It could be that this thing needs to drop first, and then go, right? You don't want to fall underneath that because that exposes you to a potential breakdown into at least 50% of that. So, no, it didn't, Scott. But right now we need a 44.88 punch over, and you could see new highs. And that high is obviously clear over here. And I say 46.50 and 48 flat. Roblox. It's a choppy mess right there. Interesting. All right, so there's a floor there that's really wicky, really messy. But that's what you're holding. 80.80. And there's empty space here to 87. So, ooh, get out of here. Oh, whoops. Damn it. Yeah, I don't know. I just accidentally pulled TikTok, the screen over. I know there's a button. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so this is your area. You can see the wicks. Here's the candle close. So, I mean, 82, split what I gave you in half, 84.50 and 87 if you can break over that high. If you don't, this is the fourth fucking time. So if you lose $80, that might be cooked. Workday. Busy, what are you looking for on this? What's the thought process on this? Are you trying to go long? You trying to go short? Trying to go short and long? What are you looking at here? I don't know if I like that. Weekly. So that was a slow motion punch back down. So that invalidates the box. You don't just bounce off your floor. See, that was a box right there. You popped out, you hit a high, then you punched back down. So while we do have the floor, it's the previous resistances that are going to be most important, and that's 285, 880, or 278.85. And obviously that would be your downtrend on this large channel and be the deciding factor on whether you can reach up to 288. And there, I think you do have a box and a target. Yeah, so look at that, 295.50. What the fuck is this? Is this some rip? All right. Probably just, yeah. I mean, this is a squeeze. I don't know, Sayata? What the fuck is that? (4G LTE all-in-one vehicle fleet communication device). I don't know what the fuck that is. Not that it matters. I just was curious. I would say you have a 950 and 1125 target. If you want to go higher, I mean, I'm scared to even call that a box, but 1821. and there you would have another 2882 merging. That's funny. Bing AI helps. That's funny because it's when I was using Bing, everybody told me to go to Google, and now I'm using Bing. Yeah, I mean, well, I'm not gonna chase shit like this, you know. Like if you didn't catch it, yeah, that was huge. It was awesome, but I don't even spend my time looking at stuff like that because me personally, I like when people are like, "Oh, this ripped today." I'm like, I don't care. If it hasn't happened yet, I really don't want to hear about it. You know, like good job if you caught something on it, you know, but like if you haven't caught anything, what's the value in looking at it, you know? Some things can keep ripping, but that's weird looking stock. ELTR is being weird. Rivian, dude. Rivian's been fucking amazing. Nice, beautiful rip. Pfizer. Oh, yeah, look at that. It did pop out. Yeah, Riot. So today, honestly, today's bounce was, you know, enough to let me know exactly where this thing, you know, could be hedged, back down, looking for, you know, 18, I mean, maybe even not hedged, you know, but I still have a target to the upside. If it doesn't happen now, it'll happen later. But I believe, well, I see that over 910. So if you want this long, it's 910. That has to happen. Otherwise, you know, 841 and 815 are both targets down. So failed punchback. Yeah, APP did fail to punch back on the 4 hour, on the 2 hour, on the 1 hour, and everywhere else. So if you lose that floor and you'll have 358.10, and then, I mean, shit, you could be looking at 328.50. So thank you guys for tapping the screen. I appreciate it. Yeah, good job, your daddy. You know what? That could actually be a decent short. Maybe. So, look at what you're holding. They're holding price underneath this. So, I mean, at a minimum, and whether or not this is profitable, you know, you'll have to calculate that, but 11.15 seems like the pullback area. Sometimes I take the trade when it climbed back on the floor of the box. Sometimes I take a trade as it breaks cost basis. Or if I miss that, I'll try to take it off the top. So as long as I can get candle closes or some sort of structure as my stop loss, I'm pretty happy. All right. We'll do Tesla and we'll go ahead and call it. Now that's nasty. All right. So that's something to take into consideration. You got a third wick up there, 2 separate 4-hour candles, and you get driven the fuck back down. Now, cost basis is right there. So if Tesla breaks down below, the 2 hour says 334.75. The 1 hour says 334. The 30 minute says 333. And you should have a leg down to 323. So, all right, guys. Sorry about the tardiness. I had to police the streets of Savannah. A little bit of Karen came out of me. It was a good Karen though, you know. Anyway, we live. Kids are done with school for the rest of well, for the next two and a half months.
Form, huh?
Huh?
Now you're gonna send them to the farm?
Yeah, right.
Party at Potter's for the next 3 months.
Yeah, dude. Well, now I just won't have any school interruptions or anything like that. So, I'll be taking a couple of vacations this summer, I'm sure. But I just got a laptop for that, and I got a travel cam.
Make sure you send that to JD and give him a heads up, bro.
JD, come back. I got a laptop this time. Please. Daughter just graduated kindergarten. I think she started working on the farm. Who the fuck is PB and Bread? That's fucked up. Why'd you change your name to that? What the fuck is that? Though? For real, why is your name PB and Bread?
When you're gonna start AO on leading the Discord?
The other day he was just asking me about what I do. He was like,
Bro, he's gonna be the next guru.
Yup. The next generation.
And
no,
he's gonna be a beast, I bet.
I think actually Ellie will be the one. AO is,
Maybe.
yeah, I think Ellie would be the one because she's super analytical. Yeah. I enjoy your story. It
One
was
of
just,
them is gonna kill it.
dude, that was just funny as fuck. Sorry. I'm not offended at all. But yeah, no, Ellie graduated kindergarten today, and then AO graduated from middle school yesterday. So AO's going to the school across the street now. It's going to be pretty cool. All right. Anybody take anything? How many of y'all got IWM with me?
I took that with you.
Okay.
Which way did you take it, Potter?
You just want me to say that out loud, don't you?
I've been watching
No,
it.
because I took long on cues.
So I took.
Son of a bitch! I'm in.
I basically straddled IWM. The thing is I can come to, like, right now, if I was to say, like, if I was at gunpoint and someone was like, all right, tell me where IWM's gonna go, I would have to say down. You know what I mean? Like, right now, looking at the rejections overhead, like, you know, it looks like it's gonna go down. But that's at gunpoint.
My take on cues was that we failed. Sellers failed to push the push it below yesterday's low, and that's kind of like indicating strong buyers momentum still there. So that's kind of like why I stick with going to the upside.
Yeah, I mean, I said this at the end of the day. I think I want the consolidation that the IWN has. I want the expansion out of it. That's what I'm targeting. You know, just purely that. But with the Qs, you know, I got to stick to some rules here. We're fucking in range, you know. So I drew that circle as a place where another candle could close. You know, we could see a candle wrapped in this space. Or if what you're saying ends up being true, which very well could be, then we could be looking at a punch overnight through the gap, right? The gap technically being at 522.42 and then targeting 525.
Yeah, the last hour, you see that candle that reversed all together, like the last hour? That actually lined up with the cost base bounce on the box below it.
Say that one more time. I'm sorry.
So I was saying, like, that last 1 hour candle that we just got, the whole candle engulfing the other one. That's bouncing off like the cost basis from that consolidation that we had yesterday.
Yeah, when I draw it like this,
one, but like the big ass one.
Oh
from,
yeah,
the left side.
Yeah, you bounce right off.
That one.
Yeah, that was the old top of the box, then the bottom of the box, then the top of the box, then the retest bounce. Yeah, that was a big one, and that's where we fall. And then we fall directly the same way that we did before. Look, bloop, bloop, right there. And then our target. So, like, you know, the Qs has, and this is what, you know, for those of you guys who are, again, maybe getting too ahead of yourself with the speculation, you know, that's where the short is. You know, that's, so even if it means taking it below 516 for that potential break. But man, this is This is where people scar themselves, and then when the shit actually starts running, especially when they break even, right? That's how you know you're watching your numbers too even or too much. Let's say you were up, a band, and you end up like bleeding that dry, in range. Let's say you lose like $950 of that. As soon as you make that $950, the alarm bells in your head are going to start going, take profit, because you're back to square one. But that's where the focus of take profit if it makes sense. But, and if there's still, more to go, that's where the demons from inside the box will haunt you in empty space. So, that's my 2 cents here, but damn, Brandy. Yeah, you're crushing it. Thank you, Brandy. Tyler, Brandy, Santiago, appreciate you guys. Data Thursday. Sailor, you might be absolutely correct. Data is on Thursday. Tomorrow we have more, and I don't know if anybody watched my live on Friday, but there was a mention of the data going into this week. This is one of the reasons that I correlate CHOP with FOMC speakers. I don't know why. Sometimes we move normally, but in this case we're holding. So, all right, I got to go ahead and stop the recording on YouTube. This will be on there later.